Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. I'm back with Bryan Firks, a former LEGO Masters contestant at BrickCentric L.A. 2026. And today we're going to look at his amazing Middle-earth map. So you have built this entire map of Middle-earth, which is just stunning. When you said a Middle-earth map, I thought that it was going to be more like a brick-built representation of a map, like an art piece almost. Yes. And this is a work of art, but I wasn't expecting these kind of large location dioramas.
Yeah.
So how did this come about? Like, what was the idea for working on this?
Absolutely, yeah. So it actually started with building some micro locations. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. That probably goes without saying, but I started to build Rivendell. I then built Lothlorien. I then was like, oh, I'm loving building these kind of elven kingdoms. I'm going to build the Grey Havens. And then from there, I was like, well, what if I just built the entire map? So it started by just building a few little locations, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And then I decided I was going to put the actual map of Middle-earth underneath it. So then it creates this whole kind of parchment effect with the actual locations jumping out of the brick-built parchment.
It's just fascinating. Like, I've never seen like a Middle-earth MOC done like this, but I think it's really cool because it gives you like an overview of all of the major locations, right?
Yeah.
So do you want to walk us through all of them? So I mean, I guess we can start over here with the Shire.
Yeah, so we have to start with the Shire. Yeah, in a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. This was green, vibrant, a place that I really wanted to have pop with color because, as we know, as the locations start to get darker, as the further we go into Middle-earth, the less color you have. So this had to be full of color. This was a fun small build. I did get inspiration from the old Bag End set that came out in, I want to say, 2013 or so. And I definitely loved building this. We move on from there to the small village of Bree. This is the smallest location represented on the map. It does have the Buckleberry Ferry right here, does have the actual kind of Tudor style buildings, and as a small little call out for the super fans of the movie, there's a little orange stud here with a black stud underneath. These are meant to represent Peter Jackson eating a carrot as he does in a cameo in the movie.
I thought it was Lake Town at first. It would make no sense given where it is on the map.
Yeah.
But I saw brown houses and some water, and I was like, oh my god, it's Lake Town.
Lake Town. It does look like Lake Town. I mean, they're both like places where men live in Lord of the Rings, right? So it's similar. And you get the water, which is, representative of the river there. So moving on from there, we have Weathertop, another very small part. It has a couple of little ring wraiths that are on the top, plus the fire for the ring wraith that gets lit on fire during the movie. Just a really tiny build. This one probably took me the shortest amount of time of any on here. Moving on from there, we have Rivendell. Again, this was, I think, the first one that I built that kind of kicked off this whole series. Have the cascading waterfalls. You have a lot of kind of elven architecture, which is always a nice, fun challenge, trying to create more organic shapes. From Rivendell, from the Hidden Valley, we move on to the Argonath. This is, I often do trivia for this Middle-earth map. I found this to be one of the hardest locations to name because it's never said in the actual films. You need to actually, or maybe it is said, but if it is, it's only said once. You really need to know your stuff to know this is called the Argonath. These are the two sentinels, so to speak, that kind of welcome you into the realm of Gondor. They're two kings of men, Aragorn's ancestors. The true nerds will know their names, and I'll leave it to them for that little bit of trivia.
It's Elendil and who's the other one? Is it Isildur or Anarion?
So I think it's Elendil and Isildur, but yeah. Or is it Isildur and Anarion? Because they're the two kings of that land. Yeah. So I actually am not sure if Elendil is represented.
I think in the book it's Isildur and Anarion.
That's
and I think in the movie they made it Elendil and Isildur.
Ooh, I think you might be right. Because the one with the beard might be Elendil, right? I love this. This is so specific and nerdy. It's like, I love this.
I love Lord of the Rings. That's why I wanted to do a separate video dedicated to this map. And I was
Absolutely.
in New Zealand like just about a year ago.
Oh, amazing.
And so
Yes.
I went to the place where the Argonath was filmed, and it was just stunning.
That's so awesome. So I went to New Zealand recently too, but didn't go to the Argonath spot,
Oh,
so I need to
no.
next time. I did hit so many of the other ones though, including, we'll jump to this now, Edoras, Rohan. This was a very fun build. This was heavily inspired by a small skyline mock by at Ben Builds Lego on Instagram. Definitely recommend checking him out. His mock, I pretty much did a version of his mock with some edits, you know, especially adding the mountain in the back with the beacons, which are lit, of course, because Gondor calls for aid. Moving on from here, we'll go down a bit further south. We have Helm's Deep. This is where, of course, Rohan goes when they're under threat from Saruman, and the iconic battle takes place here. This was a lot of fun as a little micro-scale location. Honestly, this one came together very quickly. Maybe one of the quickest builds of the entire batch.
And it's instantly recognizable.
Thank you.
So far, this one's my favorite, because you can
thanks.
just immediately tell what it is.
Yeah, I was happy with that one too, because it's very easy with the tower and the little rounded area in front. Yeah, this was a fun one. Going right behind, we have to kind of tuck in behind, we have Fangorn Forest. And of course, we have to have the Ents when we're in Fangorn Forest.
Those are so well done.
So there are these three like tiny little micro-scale Ents, and they are walking toward Isengard and Orthanc with a rock and stone, as Treebeard says. So then, speaking of, let's move right over to Orthanc, Saruman's stronghold. This was a difficult build for sure, and one that I really wanted to get right with kind of the mild tapering, which is achieved just by little hinges. And yeah, this one was a lot of fun. I have kind of Saruman's little world of metal and wheels down below. You can see kind of the machines of war that he so famously uses. Moving on here, let's go to the iconic Minas Tirith. This was another one that was inspired in part by one of Ben Build's mocks, and I took some inspiration for that for some of the elements here, and I really had a lot of fun doing the shaping, creating this little courtyard on the top, some challenges with hinges in here to try to get that rounded shape. Okay, moving on. We have Mines of Moria. Now this, I must say, was the most challenging one to try to depict properly, because I couldn't quite decide if I wanted to just do the top with the Doors of Durin, or if I wanted to actually go below, because that's where all the iconic stuff happens in the Mines of Moria. So I decided to do both. You have the top, you have the tentacles of the Watcher in the water, you have the Doors of Durin, Speak Friend and Enter, and then right below you have the Bridge of Khazad-dûm.
And I'm actually going to crouch down to see if I can get a better shot.
Let's do it. Yeah, it is kind of hard to spot there. But yeah, you have the Bridge of Khazad-dûm, and you have the small Balrog, and of course you have Gandalf saying, you shall not pass.
That one is so well done.
Thank you.
You do a really good job with the characters, like with the Ents and with the Balrog. Like, they're just very well done.
Yeah, I had fun with the Balrog. He actually has a little batarang as his wings. That's what creates is just a tiny little batarang piece. Yeah. So moving on from there, I guess speaking of these creatures, we have the Fell Beast right here flying over the dead marshes. And this Fell Beast is actually built out of, I believe, only 7 pieces. Very small little build. And in the dead marshes, you can see kind of the bones of the dead that are hiding underneath there. There are some translucent pieces that are meant to be the water, and some glow-in-the-dark bones that are down under the water. Wasn't quite enough room to fit a proper figure in there, but I figured the bones would be enough. Moving on from there, let's go a little bit further south, and we have Osgiliath, the ruined city, with another Fell Beast flying overhead. One of the smaller mocks, and this was a good challenge to try to create that ruins look and have all the buildings feel kind of blown out by years of war and conflict. Moving up, this is one of the, I guess, relatively more obscure locations on the map. This is called Minas Morgul. You recognize it when Frodo and Sam walk by as they're on their way to Shelob's lair. And this is famously home to the Witch King of Angmar. And it's his kind of eerie stronghold with this kind of pale glow that to me kind of spells death. So it's a creepy location, and as you can tell, the locations are starting to get much darker the closer we get to Mordor.
Yeah, I love how you incorporated the glow because I recognized it immediately.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
And
that's kind of the element, right? The key element.
yeah, exactly. As soon as you put those pieces in there, it makes it very clear what it's supposed to be.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, and speaking of the darker places on the map, here we have the Tower of Cirith Ungol and Shelob's Lair, which I'll actually pop off a little piece here, and you can see Shelob herself hiding in the lair. Yeah. So there's the little spider, and you can see a little white stud down below, which is Frodo in his little spider cocoon. Yeah. Yeah, this is a fun one. Okay. We're almost to the end of the map. Now we got some of the most iconic locations in Middle-earth. Of course, we have Mount Doom. And this was a fun and challenging build. In Microscale, trying to build rock formations is not always the easiest thing to do. So this one actually took me like 3 tries to get the scale right. But I was happy with how it ended up turning out. And last but not least, we have Barad-dûr with the Eye of Sauron.
Yeah, excellent parts usage there.
Thank you. Yeah, had to use the actual Eye of Sauron piece, which is from the Wizard Battle set from the Lord of the Rings early wave. Yeah, and this was a fun one. Lots of detail on the actual tower itself. And yeah, that kind of concludes the journey through Middle-earth.
And then we have Lothlorien.
Oh, you're right. Thank you.
It.
It doesn't conclude it because I skipped one at least. I'm sure.
Oh wait, and we missed the Grey Havens.
We missed Grey Havens. We skipped 2. Okay, back to Lothlorien. This one was one of the earliest ones that I built for this series, and I kind of used it as a chance to try a technique I had been wanting to put in a mock for a while, which is this little cascading spiral of jumper plates. So I thought that would work pretty well to be the kind of stairs that go up in a spiral up to the elven flets that are above in the trees. So this was a fun build. You can see around the side we actually have Galadriel's well here. Just a small little call out for those who know the films really well. And it was a good chance to create a really ethereal space with a lot of elven detail. Last but not least, this is actually a very fitting one to end on. The shores at the edge of the world, the Grey Havens. This is the place where Frodo sails to the Undying Lands. It's kind of an iconic image from the end of the films where you see that little sailboat sail off into the sunset. And I felt like it wouldn't be complete without the actual sunset itself. So kind of a defining part of this little vignette was to create the sunset out of plates and just do a variety of orange colors to try to create that gradient. So this is a fun one. If I were to say a personal favorite one, I'd say it might be this one for the just... I guess the amount of time it took, this one was more of a labor of love compared to the others, and I was just happy with creating the gradient for that sky.
Yeah, the sunset makes it instantly recognizable.
Well, thank you.
So I think that you're absolutely right with your instincts. Like it really makes it. Like what a beautiful, beautiful piece.
Thank you.
But yeah, just an incredible job, honestly, on the entire thing.
Thanks.
But yeah, thank you so much for sitting down with us and showing us.
No, it's my pleasure. Thank you. This has been a blast.